Nikhila, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
We'll be sent by 8. Oh. If it doesn't, then I lost. No, I okay. How would you phone? What? Oh, that's fine. Why would you ask me? Why?
Sure. Welcome, Jacob.
Okay. I think we'll get started here. I have a gavel. Alright guys, I think we'll get started here. This is our space that we have for the rest of the semester. I don't know if I like it though. It's very dim and sad. I did not expect it to be this dark during. Yeah. So
Did we not like the pitch? I guess, or we complained.
Yeah.
What is this?
So it's hoping to be more formal and more in.
Yeah.
Or sorry, the picture's too formal. It's like one person sitting in front, everybody else plastered against the wall. So Mark. We can parlay with people later. But this is a space we have it reserved for the rest of the semester, so if we end up liking it, we can stay in it. Obviously, I'm open to a better space if somebody has that. I think this will provide us a good space in the middle of, if we have AV hooked up next week, which I'm also going to work on because this is our microphone this week, so we'll work around it. This week's pretty informal. This is Mark's last meeting, so I got Mark to talk about student government at other previous institutions that he's been at, and then we'll move into some committee meetings and some breakout things that I want to have some discussion. So with that, I'll invite Mark up. Just move with this, Mark, wherever you end up walking to.
Why not you just leave it right there?
Okay, sounds good.
Is this close enough?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, hi, everybody. This is my last official meeting with you all, and that makes me sad. The last 6 months have been a wonderful experience working with Student Government, the Greek Council, and Res Life and Student Life, and met a lot of really neat people, and this guy has pestered me to death. So I was reflecting. I've worked in higher education for 45 years, and I've worked with student government all but, let's say, 10 years of that time. So 35 years, how many student government meetings? Maybe 10 a semester, so 20, so 70 student government meetings or more. No, that's 700? No, do the math for me.
700 meetings.
700 meetings? Wow. That's like a slap in the face. It makes me feel old. But anyway, I wanted to talk to you guys on 3 or 4 items. I'm going to try to be really quick. One is how to fight fair. Now, are these guys part of our group? Can you get them? You want to pull the door closed?
Yeah.
So, working in student government is a quasi-legislative and formal legislative body. It works with the university faculty council as the other major representative group for the university. So universities take these groups very seriously. And I always did as a vice president for student affairs. And so there are some things that I learned about behavior in group settings like this. I wish the faculty would listen more than the students, because if you go to faculty council meetings, they can be really rowdy and dysfunctional. And when they're debating really important stuff like the university budget, they get stuck on grammar and punctuation, and like they're grading papers and they forget about the bottom line. But at any rate, so a couple things I want to talk about. One is fighting fair. And the title of this is How to Manage Personal and Group Relationships. And just a few points here. When you're in your roles in the Senate and student government, debate ideas. Don't debate people's dispositions or character. Keep it impersonal, focus on ideas, not on personalities. That's really important. That way you can disagree to disagree, but you're not undermining or cutting down the person that has the other opinion. Secondly, always listen to the minority opinion. When I've led, what I did for a living for the last 45 years is chair meetings, large meetings, small meetings, etc. And in meetings, often there is a person or a group of persons who have a different perspective than the majority. What I always tried to ensure is that voice was always listened to. Now, I didn't promise that person or that group that their voice was going to prevail, but at least they were going to be heard and their opinion was going to be considered in making the decision. And when that happens, even if they disagree with the outcome, they're not likely to try to sabotage or backstep the thing because their voice was heard. And that's just a very fundamental human relationship skill. My biggest peeve in the world is what I call third-party pity parties. So I work with Rezwan and Derek and myself very closely. So if Rezwan comes in and says, can I tell you something in confidence about Derek? I would say no. That unless he's doing something illegal or immoral, I'm not going to listen to that. If you want to tell me about your issue with Derek, I will listen to it, but on the condition that either I empower you, Rezwan, to get some ideas on how to approach it with Derek, or I'm going to bring you, Derek, and I together, but I'm not going to accept that third-party pity party. Because what happens in those cases, Derek does not know anything that's going on, but he knows that Rezwan and I are acting differently toward him. And he senses that, and so he gets pissed off. And so you have three parties all mad at each other, and one party not knowing why he's mad other than they're mad at him. And then it blows up into something very disproportionate to the cause. So I encourage you not to have third-party pity parties. If you have a problem with Andrew, talk to Andrew. If you have a problem with Joseph, talk to Joseph. Or seek some advice from, if Andrew and Joseph are colleagues, you can approach Andrew and say, you know, Joseph said something the other day, and it really upset me, but it's not like him to say that. How do you think I can approach that? And so you get some advice and feedback, but always go to the source. Because if somebody's talking behind someone else's back, you think that person is going to talk behind your back as well? Is that a person that you would trust? Probably not. You know, we all know gossips in the world, and they're not very productive. So, be assertive, not aggressive. Assertive means you have every perfect right to have your opinion, but you have no right to impose that opinion on someone else. Okay? So, you can be assertive with your ideas and contribute to the conversation, but if the majority will goes in a different direction, you've had your piece and live with it. Live for the next fight, and hopefully you can win the next one. Say difficult things in person and nice things in writing. This is probably one of the most important things I tell all of my staff members. If somebody does something that really makes you mad, let's say that you get an email from someone and you're just pissed off, if you write an email back, first of all, don't put the person's address on the top line, because I've done this before. Write a nasty email back, get all your thoughts and everything out, and channel it that way. And then print that off and hold that, but don't hit send. And then have the personal dialogue with that person and use your notes as talking points. Because if you get something nasty in writing, you can always hold that. You can show it to everybody. Look what an asshole this guy was to me. And you always have it, and you'll remember that. But if you say difficult things in person, then you can clarify it by your body language. You're leaning in and knowing that you're having a conversation. It's a whole different story if you do it that way. But if you have something really nice to say, like, let's say Naeem did a great job in the residence hall meeting, and he really did a great presentation, got people excited and motivated. Then these guys send him a note and say, what a great job you did. It was very inspiring what you had to say. We're so proud of you. You get that. Whoa, this is cool. You show your mom, your dad, you know, your uncle, your cousin, all your friends. And that really is something you want them to hold on, don't you? So, nice things in writing, difficult things in person. If you do that, I swear you'll avoid about 90% of difficult relationship issues in the future. What else do I got here? Something else I want to talk to you about that served me very well. There's an author in the 80s named Stephen Covey, and his book was 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's an old book that's been published in about 30 different editions and many different languages. And they use the notion, which is really important when you're dealing with a standing body like the Student Senate and student government. He talks about many things in that book, but one is an emotional bank account. So when you go to a bank and you want to establish your account, you want to get a checking account, what's the first thing you have to give to the bank? Pardon me? A deposit. You have to show an ID, but you have to have a deposit in order to have a bank account, don't you? If you make a withdrawal without having a deposit, what happens?
Nothing to withdraw.
You get a bounce check and a $35 nasty fee or something like that. So if you treat relationships, human relationships, like human bank accounts, then you can get the notion that if you make deposits, which are forms of listening appropriately, paying attention to a person, not being disruptive, following through with what you said you're going to do, all of these things are deposits in the bank account. And then if I have a really positive relationship with you all, but one of the meetings I have to say, dang it, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. I don't care if you pass it or not, I'm not going to recommend that to the dean, no. And you're all pissed off at me. But that one withdrawal, if I have enough deposits, is not going to sunder the relationship I have with you, hopefully. You're going to give me the benefit of the doubt, because in 99% of the other occasions I worked with you, I treated you with dignity and respect. I listened. I followed through what I said I was going to do, etc. So emotional bank accounts are a very useful thing. And again, when you're working with an existing body, and whether it's a fraternity or sorority or student government or a club or organization, the same people are around there all the time, right? And you need to have a positive rapport with those people. So if you make deposits up front, and on occasion, you might say something really stupid. You had a bad day, you woke up on the wrong side of the bed, and you're just pissed off, and somebody says something, and you speak out of turn, and say, wow, that was really stupid. How could you even think that? Like, whoa, I should be really mad at him, but, he's always treated me nice otherwise. Let me give him the benefit of the doubt, and I'll talk to him later. But you're not going to write them all. But if somebody's been a total ass to you, they've not followed through on any commitments, they're always disrupting you, interrupting, etc. If they do that again in public and embarrass you, hell with you. I'm writing you off. I don't want to have anything to do with you in the future. And you don't want to burn bridges in existing organizations. I have to navigate that in a university. I might have some vice presidents that I have to work with, but I actively dislike. But I'm not going to burn my bridges with that person, because sometime or another later I might have to depend on him or her to support something I want to do. So don't burn bridges unless you have to. Let's see what else I got here. I could talk to you for hours, but I don't want to do that. So withdrawals are discourtesy, disrespect, cutting one off, overreacting, ignoring, being arbitrary, betraying a trust, which is the worst, threatening or cutting comments. The result in the account being overdrawn. Trust is very low. Emotional minefields. You're operating in minefields with that person. You don't know what you can say or do when that might blow up. So tension and covering one's rear end tend to be the relationship in that situation. When you have reserves of trust, and they're sustained by continuing positive deposits, your relationships will preserve. If you don't have those reserves of trust, then the relationships will deteriorate or be destroyed. 6 major deposits: understanding the individual, attending to the little things, keeping commitments, clarifying expectations, showing personal integrity, and apologizing sincerely when making withdrawal. That's not rocket science, is it? It's just common courtesy. In any language or any religious culture or whatever, that just makes total sense. So as you work together as senators and in your organizations, think about these things, because they're, these people who've written these things have experienced life, and they have a lot to offer us in terms of wisdom. I'm going to talk briefly now about the role of student government on college campuses. I've spent 45 years as a university administrator, and I have the deepest and utmost respect for student government. I hope you see that by me being here in all your meetings, listening, taking care, working with these guys behind the scenes to help things go. I don't do this because I think you're fruitless, stupid organizations. I think this is one of the most important bodies in the university, whereby students get input into the decision-making of the university. So I take it very seriously, and I hope you all do well. So 7 campuses, 45 years, and how many meetings did we say, 700? Yeah, so I spent a little time with you guys, curiously. So student government, when well organized and effective, provides student representation into the uppermost committees and councils of the university. These guys and your representatives are meeting with the president and university vice presidents, and these folks listen to what you have to say. They may not always be able to deliver what you want, but they're listening, and you can affect how they view things from a student perspective. You present the student voice as listened to and taken into account. The president and student senators are the voices of students to the university administration. There are no other groups that they turn to look for student voices and opinions. You have the monopoly on that, so use that monopoly well. And especially when progressive and well-considered proposals are advanced, they are more likely than not to support your work. So I really want to emphasize well-considered proposals. Do your homework. One of the statements that I always make is bring a culture of evidence to your work. And if you can make a convincing argument, you can run that argument by each other in Senate meetings, and you all agree that this is something really important for the university to consider. It's hard to argue when you have a well-documented argument. It's hard to disregard that or dismiss that as inconsequential. And student governments have achieved tremendous things. Now, my last work at Radford University in Virginia, there was a real controversy about alcohol violations, and the issue was if you're out drinking and you're all underage, and you get sick, and you're having alcohol poisoning, and you're having a very serious health issue. If Naeem calls for 911, and he stays there with you to take care of you, even though he's underage and drinking, and you're underage and drinking, we're not going to hold him responsible for doing the right thing. Okay, that sounds pretty cool, doesn't it? Well, that was very controversial in our student conduct code because the campus was trying to cut down on off-campus drinking. But student government made that proposal and they got medical amnesty approved. And it really made a difference in students taking care for each other. If you're going to get in trouble by helping out another student, you might not be as disposed to do that as if you're going to be granted amnesty in that situation. Smoke-free campus. They wanted a smoke-free campus. They got a smoke-free campus. Started out as an individual senator lobbying with a couple people, doing his or her homework, and proposing that as a resolution, and also lobbying with the faculty senate and other groups. And by the time that resolution came forward, the students initiated it, the faculty senate agreed on it, and the university administration said, well, if everybody wants it, let's do it. A lot of pissed off smokers on campus, but it made for a much healthier environment. An open campus resolution to expand free expression on campus. That was another one. An honor pledge for academic integrity and a fitness wellness center. The university, like here, you have a terrible facility for physical education and recreation and basketball and all of that. It's not air conditioned, et cetera. The students got their voices together and they put together a referendum, and the student body voted by a large majority that they wanted to increase their student fees by X amount to build this $15 or $20 million student recreation facility. They said they wanted it, the university said okay, and they built a recreation center that overnight probably quadrupled the participation of students in any event or activity on campus. That building was full. It was full in the daytime. It was full at night. You couldn't get a basketball court or racquetball court or anything because there was so much demand. And all of a sudden, the campus would just kind of hang around and do nothing. They were pursuing a very healthy addiction, I called it. You know, they were working out and exercising. They were interacting with each other, and it really contributed to the campus spirit. That can happen here. There's actually, in the master plan, there's a proposal to blow off the village over here, blow that up and create a recreation kind of center with housing surrounding it. And, you know, again, if you guys think large, don't dream small dreams, but dream significant dreams. You can make a difference. At Truman State University in Kirksville, Missouri, just down the way, they had a student recreation center referendum, a student center expansion. Let's say if you advocated for this dilapidated facility to be renovated and reconstituted as a student center, that's the kind of thing that you could do. And they created a freshman week to introduce students to the campus through a whole extended week of orientation. Northern Kentucky University, a new student union, a freshman seminar program, midterm grades for freshmen, a student success center, and a recreation center expansion. Miami of Ohio, a new student union, a center for service learning, and a second-year initiative for students, sophomores who had to live in the residence halls. Instead of just having them live there, they created a program to support them and to make it worthwhile for students to live there. These are major accomplishments, and they totally transformed the campuses that the students were a part of. This is not tiddly tip. I mean, this is real stuff. And if you guys get your act together and get organized and survey the campus environment and look for things that you think students would really value, then you can make it happen. Now, this university in particular right now is under financial constraints. They're very serious, and we're having to dig ourselves out of the bank account that's not good. So it may take a while. And these things didn't happen overnight. The new student union initiative at Northern Kentucky University took 7 years and 7 different student government presidents, stood up in front of the Board of Trustees and said this is a priority. And finally, in the 7th year, stars aligned, the planets were together, and it got approved. And now that is the transformational building on campus. So these are things that you can do. So this is, you received a kind of a harsh email from me after the student government retreat. I was so terribly disappointed in the lack of turnout there, particularly among senators. And it wasn't because I spent time preparing for that, or this guy and this guy spent a lot of time preparing for that. Is that you missed the opportunity to come together as a group and develop goals and aspirations for the spring semester, and to figure out what the role of a senator really is and help clarify everything. That's something we missed. I took it seriously. You know, many of these notes and other notes I developed specifically for that meeting, and you missed it. That's okay for me. It's not okay for you, because I think you squandered a real opportunity to get your act together for this semester. If you're here primarily to get a resume hit on your resume to be, I'm a member of student government, then I'd encourage you to walk out of the room. Because if that's the level of commitment you have, you're not going to make a difference, and why bother? Seriously, I feel that. But when you're elected student representative, you have a responsibility to your constituents and an obligation to the organization to be present and accountable. Next thing I want to talk about, in organizations, I go to meetings for a living, okay? I probably go to 5 or 6 a day, and many days. If I just go to a meeting, maybe state my opinion on the matter, and then leave, and I do nothing about that opinion or that organization until the next meeting, where I come together and state my opinion, and then leave and do nothing, nothing is going to get done in that organization. You know, we often think of membership in organizations simply as going to meetings. Well, that's not where the work of the organization occurs. The work of the organization occurs in between meetings, when you do your homework, develop your proposals, lobby with each other for support, talk to administrators to see if this is something that can work out and it might be worthwhile, and then present your case and do it. If that doesn't happen, the formality of that occurs in a meeting, but none of the progress towards that goal is achieved in the meeting. It is what you do in between meetings. So, when you graduate, you're in your careers, and you're participating in committee meetings in your organization, in your business, just remember that if you're just going to meetings, you're not doing anything. It's the work between meetings that makes a difference. And let's see, what else? I'm going to end up shortly there. You get some information. I had a whole diatribe on the retreat. I'm not going to go there. So my last words to you from student government perspective from this old chart is, don't dream small dreams. There is a quote, dream no small dreams, for they have no power to move the hearts of men and women. Don't dream small dreams, because small dreams don't motivate people to action. Engage in strategic planning. Look not only into the upcoming year, but 6 years into the future. 6 years happens to be 2030. Amazing, isn't it, how quickly that's coming? So define your future. What steps would it take to get there? What would you need? Who would you need to engage to achieve your goals? What research would you need to be done to move the hearts and minds of the university administration to take your proposal seriously. All those things that I cited to you, those took years and years of effort, tons of studying and research, looking at comparable universities, best practices at other campuses. What do all the other schools in Chicago do that are like us? What are all the STEM universities that are like us doing? That kind of information is powerful and helps sell the case. So, I think I'm going to close there. Again, I want you to know that student government can and will be very important. It was a defining element of my career. The first time I found my voice and felt like I made a difference was in a student government meeting. And I was real shy, and I didn't, I was real quiet. I was sitting there, and there was a policy that I was being proposed by the administration that I was very upset about. And there were a lot of senior officials there. And I wrote down my notes and thought about it, and they called on me, and I said, oh, shit. Now I have to deliver. But I read my notes. I made a really clear and cogent case for that, and I prevailed. And then afterward, a couple of deans and administrators came up and said, I'm so glad you mentioned that. I wasn't even thinking about that perspective, and you really added to the deliberation of this group. Thank you. Well, I walked around like I was on cloud nine. I thought I was big, bad, and make a difference. And you hear me now talking. I've never shut up since, have I? So you can find your voices here, and you can make a difference in the university. So don't take it lightly. Take it seriously. And on that note, I'm going to say thank you for listening. Thank you for letting me be a part of your student government here. I really enjoyed it, and hope I've made a difference with you.
We'll move on. If the committee meetings are meeting, Andrew, are your meetings correct?
We're having the whole.
Okay, so Andrew's discussing the casino night. Elio, if you're on engagement, he would like to meet.
He's part of the.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
If you'd like to participate in the casino night planning with campus life and engagement, if you are on public safety. If you're on academic affairs or research, Naeem, are you meeting with your group?
I mean, no, but I never got deeper.
Or if you're with Naeem,
If you have questions regarding records,
yeah, I'm going to be talking separately, it says at the bottom, about some new student organization recognition resolution that I've been working on. So I would like to hear from other senators who we can talk about it and discuss what we should do about that. So I guess find your way. Andrew and that mosh pit's going to be here. I'll start building a group over here. So let's kind of just split up. I'm going to end the Zoom because committee meetings aren't possible and that. So let's just break up and start.
Will the end of the meeting?
No. We're meeting here. It's just Jacob online. So.
Well, this is the last day of the meeting. So it's not over until it's
It's not over.
Well, yeah, no, what are the
Okay.
points? No, I'm asking what else is there in the meeting? Announcement.
Yeah, you have to exit out of it. Okay, thank you.
Very nice speech.
Anybody coming over here to join me? Jacob and Nikhila, I'm going to end the Zoom because we're kind of done with that portion, so thanks for coming.
Yeah, bye.
Oh, boy. Look at that. Take it off, take it off. Take it off. Take it down. Take it down. Take it down. Take it down.
I don't know how to. Jacob.